Hi, welcome back to Open Hand Farm. I'm Penny and I am still recuperating from my ankle surgery but doing well. Today I'm going to be sitting at our table in our dining room area and I am so excited to do something I've never done before. So I'm going to walk through this with you. I hope it's something that you start if you're a gardener. Today we're going to talk about garden journaling. That's something that I have seen in other people's videos and how they keep track of things, and I have tried it, kind of. I was given this book when I went to a garden class at a church near me that does community gardening. And I thought I would use it, but there weren't enough pages in it to list all of the plants I was planting, so I just kind of threw it aside. I have a whole plethora of things here that you can see. I have some notes that I have taken, some planting schedules. I have a calendar that I have used in the past. You'll see it's a 2020 calendar. And for 2021, I didn't start a new calendar. Instead, I would just make notes in it as to what I did differently in 2021. So that was a thing I tried to do. I have lists of seeds that I have bought before. I have all kinds of stuff, seed catalogs, that I just stuck in a drawer. And when I went to gather this all up, I had to print some things off, things that I had bought on Amazon, and wanted to have a record of that in this journal. So it's time to get all of this organized. I watched a couple of videos to figure out why we should have a journal. And it makes a lot of sense. One person, though, had a journal that was for 5 years, so they could look back and see how things had gone or things that they had changed for the last 5 years. And I thought that was a great plan instead of having a different journal for every year. So I looked on Amazon and I found a couple and ordered one that I thought was good. This is the Garden Journal Planner and Logbook. It comes as a paperback bound, and when you open it, it doesn't open all the way, so it's kind of tricky to write in. Like writing on the top pages would be a little hard. I started filling in some areas of it and kind of struggled. So what I did is, well, what my husband did, because I can't do it on my foot right now, he took it to Office Depot for me, and they cut the binding off, and then they 3-hole punched it so that I could put it in a notebook. Oh my goodness, that made it like 10 times better, and it cost like $5. So it was well worth the money. The notebook itself was $14.99 on Amazon. I'll have a link in my description box. This journal has some really good things in it that some of the others didn't. All of the logs are very defined, and some of them I might not use, which is fine. I can take those out and put them in the back of the book, put the things that I use more frequently to the front of the book, which is another benefit of having it cut and 3-hole punched. I could have had it spiral bound also, but I like the idea of being able to add to the book instead of just what they are asking me to log. So I'm going to go through this book right now, and we'll talk about why each area is a good thing to know. So you'll notice that I did not have them 3-hole punched the cover, so I could just slide it down in the clear cover of my notebook. So the very first thing we have is suppliers. I went ahead and put some of my suppliers on there, which includes Amazon, which is obvious. I do a lot of my chemicals and things from there. My Baker's Creek, where I buy seeds. I recently bought seeds from Morgan County Seed Company, so I listed them. I also bought some seed from Azure Standard with my order last month, so I'm anxious to try those. But you can list whatever companies or even individuals that you work with that you get supplies and things from. This is a purchase record. We could put where we bought our rabbit cages, or we could even put where we got our breeding rabbit from. Or you could use it for any item that you want to keep track of in case you want to go to that company again and buy some more. Then there's a weather log. So this has the date, the air, soil, temperature, humidity, dew point, hours of sun, the wind, barometric pressure, rainfall, frost, and snow. Obviously, there's not enough pages here to do every day for 5 years. But if you wanted to do every day during your garden season, so you could keep track of that, I could make copies of this page and just keep adding them as I wanted to. So that's another good use of having it in the notebook. You could add pages as you need them. The next page I love. I wish I had been keeping track of this for the last 3 years. It is the bloom and harvest log. It has the plant name, and then it has every month of the year, and it has a B and an A. So if I planted, say, cucumbers, when I start to see blooms on them, I will write in the date on whatever month they started blooming. Then when I start harvesting them, I would write in the date on whatever month I started harvesting. And I could even go back with like a different color. I could make myself a little color chart up here. Say the red is my first harvest. The green is my last harvest. And if you are just starting out your garden and you feel like this is way too much information, this one would be one that I would say do it if you can. You don't have to buy a book like this. There are sheets that are printable off of the web that you could use to build your own book, or could list that information on the calendar, or you could use a notebook. I love this notebook. It has a really nice, sturdy, clear plastic cover, and it is graph paper inside. That would be ideal for setting up a garden journal. So the next section is the garden plot. This top page has lines on it, but the back of each of these pages is graph paper. So you could draw out your garden beds and decide where to plant things. If you wanted to, you could do a section and say section A. And then down here on the lines, you could write section A and what you planted in section A. Or there's different ways that you can use this to plot out where you want your garden. Along with this, I would say a good idea is to print off an aerial view of your land. Mine is an 1.5 acres. It shows all of my garden areas. I went ahead and kind of drew in if I have trellises over them. This is our chicken house. I know that. Up here is our new raised beds that we did last spring, so I labeled those. These are our apple trees, so I labeled those. And so I can use this to kind of think through where I would like to have a new section. And I do know that we're going to have a new section right here to put our potatoes and corn in. We used to put them right here, but now I have compost bins that I put there in the fall. So we're going to move it over a little bit. So this is a great thing. I 3-hole punched it, and I'm just going to add it to this section of my garden journal. That way I have that on hand. So the next part is another part that I would say, if you are a beginner gardener, do this. In this container, I have seeds that I have used, seeds I thought I would use, and I look through them, and I have so many that I can't remember if I really liked them or didn't like them, or if they grew well or harvested much from them. Every year I look at them and think, I think that one worked out okay. This is a great thing to have. It's an individual plant information. You would put the sowing and planting dates, the name, a photo of the seed packet, the treatment, and dates. So if you fertilized it, if you had to spray it with something, when did you prune it, or when did you deadhead it, or how did you have to protect it, or did you have to stake it or mulch it? There's just so many great things here that I wouldn't even think of. Even poisonous too. You know, like sometimes you plant flowers that are poisonous for animals, so you want to know that. The plant type. Is it an annual, biennial, or a perennial? How high does it get? How wide does it get? That is really good. When you're laying out a garden, you don't want to put a really tall plant where it's going to shade a shorter plant. I know I have planted things and I'm like, I didn't realize they would get that tall. Then I forget the next year and I do it again. This is outstanding. It talks about if it's disease resistant. You know, what are the things about it? What does it attract? Butterflies, hummingbirds, birds. It's just wonderful. I love this. Companion plants. I don't know if you've heard of companion planting. If you're new at gardening, you might not have, but it is believed that some plants grow better when they're planted with certain plants. Or maybe they don't grow as well if they're planted by a certain plant. There's all kinds of information on the internet that you can get. I printed this off of an app that was on my phone, and where you see the hearts, wherever those come together with the other word here, like let's look at carrots. There's a heart. I'm gonna go up here, bok choy. So carrots love to be with bok choy. Now you see the lightning bolt, cauliflower does not love to be with bok choy. So I wouldn't plant cauliflower by my bok choy. And it just has a good list of all of those. Now, again, I 3-hole punched this, and I will put it in this section of my book so that when I'm coming to this, I can look at it. I cannot tell you the number of times that I have been planting a plant out in the garden and thinking, oh, I didn't look to see if it shouldn't be planted by something. So I'm scrolling through and looking for its companion plants or what are not good plants for it to be with. And then again, I don't remember the next year. And I always think, I'm going to write that down. I don't. I just don't. So I think that I'm going to just leave this notebook on my table through the gardening season. And every day, just like I would a quiet time in the morning with my Bible and memory verse or prayer time, I will have a garden time where after dinner I sit and make notes of what I've done throughout the day. Now you can also use your phone and find a voice memo app out in the garden. You could say, okay, I need to record that there are bugs on this plant today. They are this kind of bug. There's a lot of them. I tried spraying them with this. We'll see if it works. And then when you come in, you have all those comments that you can listen to make notes in your journal. It will be invaluable information. I cannot even tell you how excited I am to have this at my fingertip for the next year that I start planting. As you can see, there are several of the seed pages. I'm probably going to have to make some copies and add some more though. This is an annual log for plants that you plant that completes its life cycle in a single growing season. This page might not get used. I feel like it's a duplicate of what I would have just filled out on the seed page. And this one is the same type of chart, but it's for biennial plants. That is plants that you would plant twice a year. Now this would be good because you could keep track of how well they did in each season. Maybe your cabbages grow like crazy in the spring and they didn't do very well in the fall. Maybe your broccoli did horrible in the spring, but it did great in the fall. So this would be a great way to look back and think, okay, I need to save space in the fall for these items, and in the spring, do these items so that you're not wasting your efforts and your planting space on something that isn't going to do well. The next is your perennial log. That is something that will live for 3 or more years. As a new gardener, I would suggest to you buy perennials. The more perennials you have, the more food you have with little amount of work. Asparagus. We planted asparagus a few years back, and we now have asparagus. Strawberries, they come back every year. Blackberries, raspberries, we have fig trees, we have fruit trees. These are all items that will come back and we don't have to plant, and they just produce on their own. This year I'm going to try a new perennial. I'm going to plant some artichokes and see how they do. I'm kind of excited about that. Okay, the next is your flower log. I will say that when I started my first garden here, I would put a geranium here and there and maybe a nasturtium. And that was it. When you plant flowers in your garden, you are drawing in all of the good bugs, especially butterflies and bees. And they are the ones that will pollinate your plants. They will go from one flower to another flower and carry what is needed to pollinate your plant so that it produces fruit. Don't forget to plant flowers in your garden, and they're just beautiful. Then we have a bulb, tuber, and rhizome log. If you're like me, you're like, what's the difference in all of that? So I looked it up for you. So a bulb is something that is in the resting stage of a plant. Usually it's formed underground, and it consists of a short stem base with overlapping stems. So like a tulip, where a tulip kind of comes up and the leaves kind of overlap each other, and it roots straight down into the ground. So that is a bulb. Then there is a rhizome. A rhizome is like a bulb. It's in the ground, but it grows sideways. So the roots go sideways and make more rhizomes. The rhizomes then have stems that come up out of them. If you grow irises, those are usually a rhizome. Although there are iris bulbs also, but they're a smaller petite iris. Another rhizome that you might be more familiar with is ginger or turmeric. Now, a tuber is where the food part of the plant grows underground. So that would be like a potato. So those are the simple explanations of the differences between those three. Then there is a fruit log. Again, we can list when we should fertilize it, when it bloomed, when we had fruit. We have several fruit trees, and they're supposed to all bloom and harvest at different times of the year. So this will be a great resource to say, yeah, they did what they were supposed to do. A vegetable log. I already have the bloom and harvest log, and I already have the seed log. I don't know that I will use this. There's a vine log. I don't have any vines planted. And there's also a shrub log, which I don't have shrubs either. Then we have a hardscaping log. Hardscaping is any non-living elements in your garden. It could be a patio. It could be a sidewalk. It could be a rock walkway. It could be things like fountains and birdhouses and trellises. Maybe you installed a trellis. You put it in here. And if the material that you use doesn't last very long, you know next time maybe you want to spend more and buy one that lasts longer. The next one is the garden diary. This is where you would just journal ideas. Maybe you go out and you think, I think next year I want to try planting this, or I want to move that to a bigger area over there and then do this. And you can just write those thoughts in here. Then we go to the prune, trim, and tidy schedule. I like this because all year I kept having to check YouTube or previous things that I have seen as to when I needed to prune all of my fruit trees. And every time I would think, when was that? I would never write it down. You guys, I don't know. I'm just too busy for that kind of thing. But now I will know, and I love it. Then we have cultivation and propagation. Cultivation is where you're breaking up the soil, loosening things up, getting things ready. Propagation is the reproduction or the spreading of plants. My strawberry plants always have stringers that will go over and start a new plant. They grow into the ground and root themselves, and you can clip that little connecting point between them and you have a new strawberry plant. This year I took all of the new strawberry plants and moved them to my strawberry bed. I knew I had had the other ones in my garden for a couple of years and they weren't looking too good. So I decided to take the little plants, move them so that they can grow and be a bigger, better plant next year. I can write that in here so that I don't think back on, well, I had the strawberries in that spot and then I moved them to that spot. I don't remember where that was. I also bought some new strawberries and planted those so I can keep track of when I need to break those apart or pull some of the old ones up and make sure the new ones take over. This will be a great resource for that. Then we come to the pest and disease treatment log. You guys, this is what I need the most. I know that when I plant my squash plants, I'm going to have squash bugs. I'm going to have squash vine borers, but I don't know when I'm going to have them. But every year I try to come up with a new way to avoid them. So I can put that in here. What did I try this year? Did it work? No. What did I try last year? Did it work? No. What are my plans for the upcoming year? This year, I printed off how different people use a plant to kind of trap the squash bugs. So that plant will be a plant that you don't care about. They will just go to that plant and love it. So there's a certain kind of squash called a blue Hubbard. And apparently it has the scent that the squash bugs go to very strongly. So like it attracts them. They want it. So farmers who have rows and rows of squash, is they will plant one of these at the end of a row. They will plant it earlier than their other plants so that it is blooming and producing, and the bugs will go to that and somewhat leave their other plants alone. That's my goal this year. I'm going to try it. I'll let you know how it works because let me tell you, nothing else has. So the next section is formulas and recipes. Again, like I said, I have tried several ways to get rid of bugs. A lot of those include making up a formula of items in a bottle and spraying it on the bugs, and it does help. I always forget though. Or is there a better one that I haven't tried? I will spend the next week, since I can't be on my foot, looking for new formulas. Things that people have tried, or formulas that need to be sprayed on my fruit trees, or formulas of fertilizers. How to make a rabbit poo fertilizer, or how to make a comfrey plant fertilizer. Things like that, that I can always come here really quickly and see how to do it. Any pages that I would be having dirty hands while I'm working on, I will probably put them in a page protector. Then when I go to mix the formulas, I can just pop this page out and have it right there by the sink or wherever I'm mixing the formula and not have to have the book open while I'm doing it. And that brings us to the end where there is a conversion chart and table of all different kinds of conversions. I am so excited to get all of the information filled in. I hope that you are going to sit down, gather up all your bits and pieces, and figure out, no matter how you do it, whether it's a notebook, a gardening journal, a calendar, however It is. Do it. You will be so glad you did. I wish someone had told me 3 years ago, you need to do this. I hope this has helped you if you are a new gardener or wanting to become a gardener or have been gardening for years. Like me, I've never kept track of this stuff, and I can't wait to come back and do a video next year when I'm planning my 2023 garden to show you what a benefit it is to have all of that information in one spot and to have things to look back on and see what worked and what didn't. Or maybe the timing should be adjusted. Who knows? If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And you can really help me by sharing my videos, either on Facebook or via email to a personal friend. Maybe you know somebody that likes to garden, and this could help them out. Blessings to you and yours until next time.